Hello, friends and lovers. So this weekend, we are going to be hanging out and reading two insanely hyped reads. I'm starting off with Shields of Sparrow by Devney Perry. Devney Perry typically writes small town kind of romantic suspense. And now she has a trad pub deal and she came out with a Romantasy. And I think this is like a tale as old as time as far as this year goes. I feel like so many authors are trying to dip their toes into the pot of gold that is Romantasy. I'm very interested in this. I will say I'm already 15% of the way through and I find this very easily engageable. This does have kind of like a classic Romantasy setting. There is some world building that's already happened. Like they've talked a lot about the lore of the land, if you will, and what has kept like the countries in this world together and from not fighting. And so basically every generation there is a marriage between all of these kingdoms. So not like all of the kingdoms. It's not like a big polyamorous relationship, but it's like they'll take two kingdoms and they'll marry each other. And then the next generation, it happens like somewhere over here, two of them marry each other. And so that's been happening generation after generation. And the main character in this is the sister who is not chosen to be the Sparrow. And the Sparrow is the woman who is like sent off to the other land to marry the king. Obviously, because she is our main character, she finds herself suddenly in the position to now be the Sparrow. And she is being literally and figuratively shipped off to a kingdom that is very mysterious and we don't know a lot about. So the king himself is mute. So he doesn't speak. So she's met him, but he actually talks through this guy who's called the Guardian, and he has like mysterious magic. So that's where we're starting. And me and you're going to follow me around this weekend as I, hang out with friends, lounge on the couch, be with my cats, and we're going to keep moving on in this book. But we also have later, little teaser, you'll see it in the thumbnail anyway, we're also going to be reading Silver Elite. So this is going to be just my full thoughts on both of these super hyped Romantasy. So I hope you enjoy the vlog. Let's get going. I had not that productive of a day reading wise because I did spend most of today editing a video that's going up tomorrow, which I'm actually like super excited about just because I feel like it's really good and I just felt like I did everything in it that I wanted to accomplish, and sometimes that's just like not what happens. Sometimes it just gets away from you. So I felt great about that. I did spend a lot of time on it. So I'm only about 10% more of the way through the book. I am 25% in now. It's still very much holding my attention. Things are like progressing nicely. They've still just been traveling mostly, and there was like an attack or whatever. So there is things going on. It's not just like traveling. I'm on a horse for days. There is like, she does have tension with someone who is not her husband. Scandal. So we'll see how that progresses. I just go out and have dinner with my boyfriend before he left to get on his flight. So yeah, so he doesn't come back for 2 days. So it's gonna be you and me, baby, and these hyped Romantasy novels. That being said, I am going over to drink wine and help my friend place a carpet tonight. So enjoy the clips of that, and I'm sure you will see slightly wine drunk Jana later for an update. Okay, we are back in my kitchen with bad lighting. I just got home. I'm going to take off all my makeup and get on the couch and see how much we can get done. because we're at about 25% right now. And if I want to finish that book tomorrow so that I have time to finish Silver Elite next, I think I need to hit at least 35, if not 40 tonight. So have I had multiple alcoholic beverages? Yes, but we're locking in. Okay, we are taking a little bit of a reading break. I feel like you can tell my like energy is like completely gone. I'm feeling barely human. I'm just sleepy, but I also don't want to like go back to bed because then I won't sleep tonight either, but I probably won't sleep tonight anyway because I woke up at noon. But we're making excellent progress in the book. You know, I'm still enjoying it. Like, I'm having a good time. I think this is definitely like a 4 and possibly a 4.5. But I will say, so I did read some reviews. And nowhere in the synopsis or on Goodreads does this show that this is a book 1. Then why in reviews do I keep seeing like, oh my God, there's a cliffhanger. Where is book 2? Devney, we need to speak. We need to communicate. You need to put book 1 on your fucking Romantasy novel. Like, what? Like, you're telling me this thing is 550 pages. How long is it going to be? Is this a 5-book series? I don't know, because you didn't list it anywhere. Like, I would have read it anyway, but I feel like it just, like, it kind of pisses me off a little bit, you know? Like, I'm like, just tell me. Just let me know what I'm in for, but of course not, whatever. Besides that, there have been some really like sweet moments between our heroine, Odessa, and it's kind of a spoiler because it's kind of like an aha moment, but with this character, that is newer to the scene, and they have like such like a sweet relationship, and I feel like they're the relationship I care about the most at this point because it's just so sweet and so wholesome. There is like this overarching plot with these monsters and these beasts that keep attacking, and you kind of get introduced to it like at the very beginning, and then like as the story goes on, like you encounter more and more, and so of course the heroine's making realizations, and as the guardian trusts her more, is telling her more information regarding the beasts, and so you're kind of starting to put together like what's going on in this mysterious kingdom. I do really think that this would make a good movie. So I am glad that I don't even know if I mentioned this last night, that I saw that Amazon is developing this into a movie. And I can totally see that, especially after what they did for My Lady Jane. Like, I trust them to do fantasy adaptions. Gizmo just walked in and looked at me, so I had to take a moment. So as a reward for reading, I've had this book the side of my couch for 2 days, and so let's finally open it. My only worry is, so what is it? So Juliet Cross came out with a Romantasy novel that is highly problematic, and I think this might be it. And so obviously, like, I renewed the subscription before I found out that this was like a master-slave romance, and so like I'm just like not that hyped about that. And then also she's had like a weird reaction to people being like, what about like some of the things that she wrote in the book, and so it's just like really left a bad taste in my mouth. And so I'm hoping it's like not that book. I want it to be literally anything else. But she's really thick, and so it makes me think it's a fantasy. Oh my God, no, this is so good. I forgot this was coming. This is the Bookish Box Sea of Ruin edition. Oh my God, okay, let's open this. This is so nice. I deserve this. All of my suffering has been rewarded. I really love that Bookish Box will occasionally do these like metallic edges. It's just so nice. It makes it feel so fancy. Oh, and it feels so nice. So it doesn't have a cover. Like, it doesn't have obviously it has a cover, but I mean, it doesn't have a dust jacket. And then there's like little gold. Oh my God. Guys, oh, I deserved this. Look at that. Okay, let's see. Is the back? No. It's all of them together. Oh, I love this book so much. This is my second edition of it, and I just couldn't like not get it. My wallet's crying in unemployment, but you know, at least I will go down swinging in pretty books. It feels so nice. Like, it feels like buttery smooth. Like, I don't know. I just want to stroke it, but I've heard that like excess finger oils on like this kind of like gold lettering, it actually like will start to like rub off. So I'm gonna try, you know, not to touch it, but oh, this makes me so happy. If you haven't read Sea of Ruin, it is a dark romance that takes place with a girl, a pirate, and I believe the other guy's like in the Navy. So it is kind of like a historically set romance, but it's also like a polyamorous situation. And I don't know. I love it. I will say, really check your trigger warnings for this, because there is some sections of the book that are really hard to get through, especially if there is content in here that could personally trigger you. So I want to make sure that if you do pick this up, that you are ready and aware. So yeah, back to reading. We're back on the couch. I'm being crusty again. So they keep mentioning her eyes, and I just, like, I feel like I'm being, like, beaten over the head with it. Like, it has to be something, because, or they're just, like, hitting me over the head with the fact that her eyes are different. And then also they talk about how the Guardian's eyes are constantly changing color, but hers aren't changing color. They're, like, I think they're like gold. Like, I should know, they've mentioned it a million times, but it's just like every time they mention it, I'm like, I get it. Someone just tell me what it means, you know? Because I feel like with how long this book is, and especially the audiobook itself is 19 hours long. So, like, I've been listening to her for quite a few hours now. So, yeah, I'm like, let's just resolve this mystery. Okay? Like, let's just do it. I feel like I sound angry about this book, but I am, like, having a good time. But there's just, like, some things that are, like, just, like, niggling at my brain. And it's not bad, but it's, like, okay, like, I feel like you can tell it's someone's, like, first hand at fantasy, you know? Because I'm just like, I get it, girlfriend. I understand. It is 9:45. I don't even know the last hour I updated you. My son is here. Okay, one sec. Okay. Ooh. He's here for a cuddle. So we have finished Shield of Sparrows. I had like a 2-hour phone call with my friends, and then I finished the book, and that's why now it's 9:45. So I went through a lot of feelings. So I think the last time I updated you, I was a little mad because I found out this was a book 1, even though it does not say start of a series or anything on Goodreads or in the synopsis. Like, doesn't even say like beginning of series, just like, here you go, book. So I thought it was a standalone. She's not. So don't go into it thinking it's a standalone. It is a new series. Maybe everyone else knew that and I'm an idiot, but I swear I paid attention. So you're just gonna have to believe me, guys. Some things were happening in this that made me like, I don't know, it just like felt so comparable to like Fourth Wing or from Blood and Ash. And those, those are two things like I've liked in their individual sense, but it didn't feel like wildly new. And I hit a part of the book where I was getting like pretty frustrated because one, they kept mentioning her eyes every chapter. And then they also talked about how she could like, you know this from the beginning, so it's not really a spoiler, like that she can feel like the mage's magical powers. And so they kept bringing that up. So you keep getting told these things and then she's asking questions and not getting answers. And so I feel like halfway through the book, maybe like 60 to 70%, I was feeling a little frustrated because I was just like, okay, like fucking tell me now. I'm ready to know. And so like they did eventually like tell you more about like, yes, and like it took it somewhere, but I do feel like it was like beating you over the head. So at that point, I feel like in the book, I would have given this like a 3, maybe a 3.5. I will say the ending really saved it for me. The ending was incredibly brutal. And I was feeling like emotional, like I wasn't sure if I was gonna cry or what, like, but I was like on the edge of my seat for it. I don't think anything could have prepared me for what happens. And also like the culmination of the romance and how the tension between her and the Guardian is resolved, just like it ate. Devaney did a very good job with the romance. Like it was pretty slow burn for a majority of the book. And I feel like that played into the tension and the pacing of the book. But like I said, there was like a chunk where I was like, this book's too long. Like, I feel like honestly, you could have condensed some of this. I don't know if it's because this is like Devaney's first time writing fantasy, and like a 500-page fantasy novel isn't like, I feel like a crazy endeavor to embark on, you know, like I feel like that's a pretty standard fantasy novel. But this one just, like I said, I feel like there were some things that could have been cut out. So I do feel like I'm landing more of a 4. Maybe if I was super picky, if I did 2 5s, maybe 3.75 or something. But overall, I did enjoy it. Like the beginning was very well paced and I felt like I was in the story right from the get-go. And I felt like there was enough world building without it getting bogged down, because I feel like that's the problem with Fourth Wing and From Blood and Ash, is that they're very like violently hitting you over the head with their world building instead of it like happening more organically. He's back just to rub up against my ring light. In this way, you are like learning more about the world in a way that feels more natural than I would say from Blood and Ash or from Fourth Wing. I feel like more my comparison to Fourth Wing or from Blood and Ash comes from like the kind of like classic romantasy tropes that we see play out in those. Those ones are not the first time those romantasy plot points, you know, have ever existed, but they're the most popular ones, you know? So you having read either or, you're gonna notice the similarities. And this isn't like a way of me saying like, oh, like she plagiarized. No, these are like popular romance and fantasy tropes that authors play with constantly. But I do feel like you're gonna read it and be like, oh, this reminds me of Fourth Wing, or this reminds me of From Blood and Ash. So I would definitely, you know, go in with those expectations. I will say the girl herself, she wasn't stupid, at least not to me, not in comparison to like some of the other romantasy I've read in this last year. She's definitely like slightly more intelligent. Like she does like question her loyalties herself instead of just like being like, man, like my father's an asshole and he never thought I'd amount to anything, but I guess I'll blindly just follow what he wants from me. Like she does have moments where she's like, why do I think my father's right? And like she questions it herself. It's not like the hero has to be like, hey, like why do you think this way? Yeah, so I feel like I've pretty well detailed out my thoughts on Shield of Sparrows. So we are moving on to Silver Elite. I do want to take my time with this, so we are going to continue following me along into tomorrow, but I really do want to be like thoughtful with this particular review because there has been a lot of controversy and criticism around this book. So to briefly kind of touch on that, this author is a pen name, and like, not that that's a controversy. Tons of authors use pen names, but people are really wondering who this is because, one, there was like a really weird interview where she was asked why she would write this, and she was just like, I just thought dystopian was a sexy setting, or like she wanted to write a smutty dystopian or something. And like, that feels a little weird when like dystopian is supposed to be like a critique on society and like why it's like crumbling. And I mean, I think we all were raised on the early 2010 dystopian genre. So I'm interested to see how this hits and like whether or not it does say anything about, I don't know, society or whatever. And then some people have said that some of the politics in it have felt a little right-leaning, and luckily enough for you, I come equipped with a degree in political science, so I will use every ounce of that degree to let you know if I think maybe this author is a Republican or not. So yeah, so that's a few of the things that's going on. My first introduction to this was actually seeing this weird book of the month promo where it's like ready for Katniss but adult, but what they mean is like sexy Hunger Games. And I just like, it feels like it's implied that it's supposed to be like sexy Hunger Games, and that feels weird too. So there's definitely a lot of like weirdness, and like, I don't know, like, I don't understand why the release of this book has felt so off. And so it makes sense why so many people are like, who wrote this? Because Danny Francis, obviously a pen name. There is no author photo. The bio is very condensed. And obviously the publisher themselves has put so much money into marketing this thing, and it is everywhere right now. We're here. So I really didn't do that much reading and still haven't. I played so much Stardew Valley last night. I was really locked in. I'm romancing Sam for the first time, and his skateboard tricks have just really won me over. There was a cutscene where the mayor catches him doing tricks on his neighbor's planter, and the mayor is like upset, obviously, and is like, that's not your property, whatever. And so obviously I had to defend my man against the mayor, because how dare he talk to my man that way. And then after the mayor left, he was like, but did you see my trick though? I love him. Okay. Anyway, back to Silver Elite. I have been reading it and taking notes because, one, I want to make sure that I'm like really paying attention and like being like, what is going on here? Usually I'm one to just read and vibe and then, you know, be whatever. But I want to, since this has been getting so much interesting, like both controversy and attention, like we're seeing tons of 5-star reviews. And now that it's out, like we're seeing the total opposite of that. And so it's just been blowing up everywhere. And literally I cannot go onto Threads without seeing something about this book. So I just really want to make sure that I give you the best review I can. This might be the best review I ever do on this channel. It starts with a girl, one, she's hooking up with a guy, but she wants to leave. It's a one-night stand, and she's like, I don't want to be with this soldier for another night. He's like visiting town. There's like a festival going on in her small town. Sometimes the soldiers get leave, and so she hooks up with one of them. But she's a rancher with her Uncle Jim, who is talked about in a way that I'm going to assume he dies. Like, I won't tell you whether or not I'm right or not. This is a prediction based on just what I've read so far and what I know about all of the other dystopian books I've read. Everyone's family dies. So I'm just assuming Uncle Jim is essentially dead to us. So I'm not too attached to him. And you find out that this girl has a childhood friend who she's never met, who she's been like telepathically talking to. I'm going to assume that's the love interest. And also there's like this flashback of her uncle teaching her how to use telepathy. And because she's a little kid, they have her talk back and she's like, what is telepathy? And I'm just like, it's so silly. She's leaving and trying to run away and then ends up in a hot guy's room because she's trying to get away from the soldier, but the soldier's being like a little needy and like wants her to come back or whatever. And she's like, nah, bro, I just want to go home. And so she like pops into another room, not realizing like someone's in there. And then she's like, wait, this guy's hot. And it's like so over the top that obviously this is the love interest. So he like at first is threatening her, and then it's like, why do you have a gun? Because I'm going to assume he's a soldier. It's like, you can look it up. It's registered. Like, I'm a rancher, whatever. So in the flashback chapters, they're like, she's like, my uncle didn't know I was going to be so good at telepathy right away. And then when he taught me shields and mind blocks, he no longer was surprised that I was just so good. Like, part of me, I think it's a good difference between what we had in the last book, which was like a girl who was like kind of unsure of herself and wasn't really like trained to be doing things that would be helpful in the situation she was in, but she was like trying and training to be better. Instead, now we have a girl who's just like already good at everything. Do not tell her what to do. This is still the beginning of the book. Her uncle gets like taken by the government because he's like a military deserter. And so he's being taken to go to trial, and now she's trying to go after him. So that's where we're at. I will say, so far there has been mentions of there being like concentration camps. So basically there's two different kinds of people. There's primes and then there's mods. And from what I can tell, primes are like people just like you and me, and mods are people that have like extra powers, I think. Yeah, so I don't really know, like they haven't super explained that. World building is still going, but they do like tell you some things, but I am a little lost. Like the world building isn't quite making sense yet, but I'm also not that far in. So maybe it does get better in that regard. So that's where we're at right now. And I'm really just stuck on the telepathy. Hello. It is no longer the weekend because I won't lie to you. This book has been rough, and I'm still maybe 1/3 of the way through, and there's so many mysteries left to be uncovered. There was this passage, which reminded me of like Bane from Batman. And I was like, okay, Bane, I was born of shadows. I'm from the dark. Or whatever he's doing. And there's other things like this where she's like, I should care that his daddy, like, you know, systematically like genocided my people, but also he be sexy. And I just feel like I feel like if you know me, I'm a lover. I'm not a hater who tries to dislike literally anything. Like, I am actively trying to find the good in this. And we are not having a good time. I literally stopped on this passage last night where she goes, by the age of 6, I was an expert at survival. She's good at literally everything. Anytime she talks about like learning a skill, she's like, but I'm already so good at it. And I've gotten to the part that now she's at the military academy and she's being trained in these things, but she's like pretending to be bad at them. And then you see like these reports of her and they're like, she's mediocre, but she's like, secretly, I'm super good. I would actually love it if she actually just sucked. Like I wish she was bad at it. And the only reason she ended up here is because the general's son, who she's hot for, saw her make a like 200-yard shot that should have been impossible. And so he like believes in the power of the cards or whatever. And like this government literally just killed her uncle. And yet she's like surprised when the people she's made friends with in military college like believe that people like her are bad and nasty and they don't want to touch them. And she's just like, I thought we were friends. I was like, you are friends. You're just friends with bad people. I feel like there is a way to write this exact story and have it be less awful. And also there's just like zero chemistry between her and the love interest. Like, I do not care about them. Like, at any scene they're in is actually less interesting than when she's pretending to be bad at stuff that she thinks she's good at. Like, I would rather see that. So my goal is to hopefully, I do keep going. And like I said, there is like certain parts of it that like hold my interest that I'm like, okay, I want to know more, but I just keep being disappointed. And I can literally hear some of my friends being like, DNF. And like, trust me, there has been points where I've wanted to, especially after the Bane passage, where I was just like, I don't give a fuck about these people. This is going to be wild to say. I think this writing is worse than Rebecca Yarros, is worse than JLA, is worse than just any, you know, romantasy you can think of. It's worse. And I honestly don't know where all the high ratings are coming from, because usually I'm someone who can just try to have a good time. But this isn't a good time because she's an idiot. Literally, the part that pissed me off the most was she gets like locked in this cell that's dark, and she's like, I don't like the dark. And then she spends like 3 paragraphs trying to justify not liking the dark to us. Like, that is something we can't understand. I'm like, I almost feel like you could just move on. And like, they keep doing that where even though she's just like, just justified this thing to you, she will re-justify it. And you're just like, we get it. You don't like the dark. That's fine. People don't like the dark. You don't have to have these like paragraphs about why you don't like it. And because it's not even like it's revealing as her character, it'll just be like, because of my past. So it's not even like you're getting like a look into her past about why she potentially like doesn't like the dark. It's not like it, I don't know, like there's just like something missing here. And like, I do think it's editing. Like, I think this book just didn't have like, I don't know, what kind of editing is it? Like when someone tells you like your pacing sucks? Like, I don't know. I'm so bad at being a hater. Anyway, I will let you know if I keep going. I am going to try to read more of it today, but we'll see. No promises. Because honestly, every time I'm like, read Stardew Valley, I keep picking Stardew Valley.
Several days later.
I came here to finally end this vlog. It has been days, a week even, since I started it. But we finally finished Silver Elite. Did I finish 2 days ago? Yes. But was I too lazy to put on makeup and do my hair? And you'll be like, Jana, we have seen in this video that doesn't stop you from updating. It doesn't. But for some reason, my brain told me I can only finish this video if I look hot. And so now I'm here and I'm hot. So it's time to give you my official review. So number 1, I am giving this 2 stars. Number 2, I kept being like, okay, where's the fun? Where is the brainless romp I was promised? Not here. It wasn't here. Because let me tell you, I know that I've already given you a few updates, but the pacing of this book was so odd. And then it just wasn't even entertaining until we got like 65% of the way through. And that's when I started like being like, oh, like these pages, they're moving. Before that, it was literally like me flipping a page being like, and I read this with my eyeballs. Oh boy, did I. But not to the betterment of my enjoyment. When I try to like pinpoint what I think the biggest flaw in this was, I do think it does end up being the writing. And the fact that they're claiming that this is a best-selling author's pen name, I'm just like, and then did you just not edit it? Or did you edit it less so it was more of a Red Tower model? Like, what are we doing here, folks? You know? And that's my main complaint about every Red Tower book is like, at least with Fourth Wing, it is so much fun and so well paced that things are constantly happening. So I feel like you get so engaged that it's like, okay, like, I don't care that this isn't like, you know, the gospel. And it's just, it was like both this girl took herself too seriously but the writing didn't take her seriously enough. The book kept being like, she's a badass, she lived in the dark, but then she's also like being dumb and she's just suddenly good at everything she does. Like she doesn't have to try. It's like the anime model. It's like he has to learn this 10,000 year trick with his sword in 5 days. Like it was giving that, except she never had a training montage, you know? Like, trust me, there's tons of training in this book, but it's like she's either acting like she's bad at it or all of a sudden she's God's gift to sniper shooting. I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with a girl who is good at everything and is maybe clever enough to hide it. But the thing is she's like, but she's never good enough, like, when it matters. Like, when things actually go down to the wire, it's like, you actually can't have a character who's this good at everything. So moving on to some of the controversy I saw. So there has been a lot of talk about this being like right wing in some way, or that this is for girls who want Republican boyfriends. And look, those girls are concerning. It's not the case here. For sure not. And when I tell you that this has so many contradictory, like, little snippets of what I would call, like, political thought, and does the man in this, like the love interest, he does say some very concerning things. Like, there is a big paragraph of him saying that he would rather, like, send these people to labor camps than kill them because at least they're still alive. But you find out through following him that, like, he is kind of like a hypocrite, and then also he might not even believe that in the first place. So I'm confused, like, why he was telling her this, like, in a one-on-one conversation. But then it's not like the heroine ever agrees with him. But she does sentence her best friend to a labor camp instead of getting killed, so maybe she does, you know? But she never in her head is like, oh, maybe he's right. After the love interest sends her best friend to a labor camp, they just start hooking up on the reg. So it's like, oh, you sent my best friend to a labor camp? Time to hook up, I guess. It's like every scene with him, it just felt so forced. Like there was never any time for some actual like tension or actual chemistry to build up between them, because every time it was like, I shouldn't like him because his father's a mass murderer and he is probably a piece of shit, but he's just so sexy. What? What? Like, I wish there was like something else that would lead you to believe that these two people like should be together. Yeah, and the whole thing just, it goes back and forth, and she never really has on her own like kind of like political theory in her own thoughts. It's all like outside characters telling her how they feel about something. That's what's so confusing about the whole thing. So I don't really think this book is for Republicans or that it's majority right leaning or anything, because I think that gives the book too much credit about being persuasive in any way. You know? Like, there was nothing in this that made me feel like the author was trying to sell me on something. Like the author was trying to sway me to be like, this is how you should think of this. I will say, leaving the political discussion aside, it did feel like once we got to like the training montage parts, it did just feel like Divergent. And I'm really confused why they used like Hunger Games as a comp when Divergent is such a stronger comp for this book. Because she's basically like part of an elite squad who is basically dauntless, and they're all wearing black all the time. Like, you know, like I feel like the writing's on the wall here. But I feel like they just did that because Sunrising of the Reaping came out and they were like, okay, like let's get all the people who are, you know, reading that right now. And when I tell you, the ending of this book was so disappointing. Like I said, when I got 60% of the way through, like it started picking up and I was like, okay, things are happening now. What's going on? And I felt like there was actually like repercussions for people's actions, which that's like a main complaint I have in fantasy books is like sometimes they, especially in, I feel like romance, like everyone ends up fine. Like they're almost like not brutal enough, you know? But we ended this book in one of the worst ways possible. And it's with a letter from her uncle who's like, by the way, here is all these plot details that I guess the author couldn't figure out how to like put into the story. So it was bad. It was not a good time. 2 stars. So yeah, so if I was going in between the 2 books I read for this vlog, obviously I would tell you Shields of Sparrows is a lot better of a time. And even though I had some issues with it, just overall, at least she was entertaining and a good time. And, you know, I'm definitely looking forward to book 2. I don't even know if I'll read the second book to Silver Elite because I don't know, like I just don't find myself excited about it. It wasn't a good time. It took me like almost a week to read a 500-page book. Like, and was it mostly because I was playing Stardew Valley? Yeah, it was, but we'll ignore that for now. But thank you for joining me on some of this unfortunate journey. And thank you so much for watching.